Welcome. You are here with Dr. Nilda Perez with Business Foresight, creating strategies towards your extraordinary future. Okay, welcome, Dr. Rios. How are you?
Hey, Dr. Perez. I'm very well. Thank you for having me. I'm pretty well, thank you.
Good.
Happy to be here with you.
I'm excited. I have to tell you that from our conversations, you bring such a wealth of knowledge, so much information that I'm really very excited to share this with the audience. And, again, another fascinating person who's doing awesome things.
Thank you.
I want to start out by, I just have to read your bio because you have a very fascinating bio. So, Dr. Ruth Gonzalez Rios is a medical research scientist. She's an educator in public health. She has focused on examining contributions and roles of genetic abnormalities in cancer development and the progression of applying diverse scientific approaches to study leukemia. She's been dedicated to the improvement of health outcomes through scientific research and public health advocacy. You hold a master's in chemistry from the University of Virginia, a PhD in biochemistry and cancer cell biology from the University of Melbourne, and was awarded the Postdoctoral Research Fellowship to continue leukemia research at the University of Rochester. All very fascinating. And you're currently pursuing an MBA because you don't have enough education, right? So now you are an MBA at Indiana-Purdue University. So,
yes.
here we go. This is all very fascinating things, and
Thank you.
a very well-educated person. And the best part of this is all of the things that you're doing, not only in research, which is fascinating enough, but in an area where there are so few Latinos. And one of the things that I see over and over again are this big push for getting more Latinos into the field of STEM, which is the science, the technology, the engineering, and the math. And you're already there, and you're already making these huge strides. So I cannot wait to dive into the interview. Okay. So I want to understand what compelled you to get into the field of science, which is no easy feat. Trust me. I think it was totally overwhelming to me. So what compelled you to do this?
I think, first of all, you have to have a very strong desire and sense that this is something that you want to commit to, and that you have to be passionate about it. I don't think any field, we should pick any field that we don't feel very strongly about it, that we are passionate, that we really enjoy doing. So I always loved science since I was a little girl. I was fascinated by nature. I was fascinated by how things worked. And I really had this, I was very intrigued by everything and wanted to find out more how, and science is the field that it tries to explain how things work, how things happen. Just, I was always very intrigued and loved science. So since I was very young.
So it was only natural then that you would go this route and that you would pursue a field in chemistry and in science.
Yes, I was fascinated by it, and I wanted to understand why. That was one of those little kids. I always said, but why is this like this? And
you were one of those little kids that would drive your parents crazy with
exactly.
that. Right, I get that. Yeah.
Yeah, so I would always have a question for another question. So I was one of those kids. So if you have one of those kids, or if you know any kid that it's like that, most likely will end up being a scientist. So
Okay, awesome. I have a really cute little story. I babysat my pastor's children one time, and he had a 3-year-old, a very curious 3-year-old. And
uh-huh.
he was always asking why this and why that and what. And then finally, I was like, I couldn't take it anymore. I was like, okay, just because. And he stayed really quiet and pensive, and he looks at me, he goes, Nilda? I said, yes. And he tells me, why because? What else to tell you? I had to laugh because it was like, he asked, and I was like, just because. And he was like, wait a minute, but wait a second. He said, why because? And I was like, you would have been one of those children.
Yes, definitely.
I love it. Okay. So my next question is, how has your experience been as a Latina in science? And what are the challenges that you have faced as a Latina in this world of science?
Well, it has been overall a great experience. I have been able to achieve those things that I always dreamed of, and it was just to understand a little bit more. And I haven't. Once you get into this field, you realize there's so much more that you need to understand, and it's a lifelong journey of learning and experimenting. And but one of the main challenges I would say is the lack of mentorship, and that is something that I could not stress enough for anyone, any young person hearing me out there, that to find, one of the first things you should do is try to find mentors, people that have been doing this for a while, that understand the field, that that you can identify with, that can understand where you're coming from, and that can provide that guidance that you are going to need, because it is not an easy area of work. So, but I feel that we need more mentors for our young people, especially in science and technology and engineering and math. So one of the things that I feel was one of the challenges was to find good mentors, people that would take me under their wing and really guide me. A lot of things that I had to do the hard way, and by myself, and just, and it helped me in a way to understand a little bit and learn. We learn from that, but it's not something that I would recommend. If you have a mentor and somebody that can help you and guide you, that would be one of the things that I would say. I would also recommend to be a little bit more aggressive. If somebody, doesn't answer, just, try somebody else or try again. Just not stop, and I was a little bit more, I grew up in the country in Puerto Rico. Coming here to do graduate school, the language was an issue, and the culture, it was a culture shock for me. So just managing through all of that by myself, in many cases was very hard. And that I did find, mentors, but it took me a little while to just feel comfortable sharing certain things, and but it did eventually happen. So that's one of the things that I would recommend.
So knowing that, have you taken this need by the helm, and have you become that mentor that you struggled to find? Have you become that person?
Yes, I have realized that that's something that we need, and I have gotten involved in so many programs, and even in my local church, and everywhere. I understand that there is a huge need, and I have definitely am involved in that and trying to mentor young people, people that are already in college, because it is very important. It's so important.
Right. Um, Another question along that same line, there are so many Latinos that I have to tell you, we've always struggled with being in the fields of STEM, because we're always afraid. I was always, it's a wonder that I made it this far in my education, because I was always afraid of the sciences, always afraid of math. These were things that I was like, I would like cringe just at the thought. And I was literally like praying myself through these classes because I never felt adequate. And I think as Latinos, because we're less educated and I have to go back to the mentorship, I had the same struggles. I had a lot of struggles trying to find, people that would help me through this. So what would you say to, a Latino kid in Puerto Rico or in the Bronx, in an urban community that struggles with finding like mentors or being able to pursue these degrees? What would your advice be?
I would definitely recommend that, especially the parents, to get very involved in your children's education. Children, young people face a lot of challenges, especially when they're going through adolescent years, that it's such a difficult stage in your life, and you need the support, you need the encouragement. And I would definitely recommend that parents get very involved. I am very, very grateful of my parents and the role they played in my life. They did not go to college, but they realized that it was so important. So believe me, I can tell you really funny stories about what my parents, the extent that they went through when we were very little to get us very interested in see learning as something fun and very interesting. And I can tell you that we would play teacher when I was 8, 9, 10 years old to my brothers and sisters. We would just love school, but that has to start in the home. But if you're not lucky to have that, I would say don't give up. There is a lot of tutoring that there is going on in our church, local church. We have started a tutoring program for younger people, and especially in science and math, and I'm part of this because we need it. And sometimes it is you have to try to find in your community who's offering this and ask, get out. And it's a safe environment for young people to come and be tutored even in your own language. We do bilingual. Most of our students are bilingual. I'm in California now, so you can see how a lot of the things is sometimes the myth that is so difficult and only certain people can understand. And I get so sad because for me it's so exciting to learn math and science. I see it as like a game, like you're trying to solve a puzzle. And to me it's very exciting, and I want young people to feel that way about science. And just trying to find out where in your community are they offering tutoring or any of this, mentors. Just ask. And there are also different programs, I think, that in the school too. Sometimes in school there are programs and you can ask for those. So I would start there.
Okay. Well, you know that I'm like a futurist. That has been my passion and my quest. And science is very much into that, is very much that. It's all about the future. It's very innovative. It's very cutting edge. And it never stops being that. Like one of the things that I know about science is that, and even with math, I see the math that the kids get now, it's nothing compared to the math that I got. So it's an evolution of change. So what do you see as the opportunities? And what do you see as the challenges in the field of science?
Let's start with the challenges. We'll start with the challenges first and end up with a better note.
Happy note, yes.
So honestly, I can mention quite a few challenges, but one of them, and to me, it worries me and it worries the scientific community, is basically the funding. If we don't have the funding to do research, it is going to be extremely hard. And we are worried that probably our president-elect will have the enthusiasm or desire to invest in science. And what we hear a lot is about that, in terms of not really thinking that that we are experiencing a lot of challenges in terms of our climate change. And that worries us a lot, because this is something that we want, it's so necessary that we continue to strive to do better in terms of our climate and the things that contribute to that. And that's something that is very important for our future generations, that we are conscious about the things that we're doing to this planet. So to me, that's one of the challenges. And also the funding for scientific research has been decreasing, and that is sad to me. And I see that as a challenge. And we have to find innovative ways that we can still get involved and continue scientific research. We see that China and Europe are actually ahead of the United States now in terms of the funding and the money that they are investing in research. And that is something that I never thought I would see. I thought that we would always be ahead, but that's one of the things that are unfortunate that I see.
Okay.
In terms of the positive and the things that I see that we are moving at a amazing, I would say, there is a lot of promise in terms of better improving our treatments for certain things. I specialized specifically in blood disorders and leukemia. So I see that we're having major progress in cancers, of different types of cancer, with great immunotherapy. I see that that's going to be something I think our treatments will improve, and I am very excited about that. And I see that we are doing a lot of innovative approaches and interdisciplinary approaches to solve these problems. And it's a very exciting time in terms of discovery, innovation, and better treatments for different diseases. So that's an exciting thing for me.
Okay, awesome. So I am one that, since I was very young, I learned that I actually welcome challenges. Not that you will hear that when I'm actually going through the challenge. When I'm actually going through the challenge, I'm like, this is terrible, this is horrible, but I'm like, okay, so now, I remember when I was little, put on your thinking cap, how are you going to fix this? And challenges, I see them I see the challenge as an opportunity. Mm-hmm. So since funding is concerning, and even it may not be an immediate problem, but you see it as a foreseeable challenge or a foreseeable problem, what ideas do you guys kick around for solving the challenge of funding?
Well, I believe that one of them is trying to bring funding by, obviously you have to have some funding to be able to do research. So
Right.
focusing a lot of our research in terms of collaborating with maybe departments that have the funding and have a way to bring our ideas into tangible
Realities. Yeah.
yeah, so tangible basically results that can be implemented and that, you know, a little bit faster. Let's say try to get treatments and solutions to problems to society a little bit faster. So I think it would have to be a collaboration with, I'm talking about right now mainly in terms of academics.
Mhm.
So scientists collaborating more with people from other departments to solve problems, and even people that are not in science, let's say in the business
World.
department, trying to see how we can bring ideas together and solve problems that way. So that, I think that would be one alternative. And
Okay.
the other one would be try to see how we can raise funds a different way that we don't depend so much on government funding.
Right. Well, and a lot of this stuff I've learned from Rachel, who is definitely, she's like at the helm of my marketing. But one of the things that she like keeps bringing home to me is, if you want people to understand what you do, you need to educate. And and educating them on the power of research, and not just because, you know what, research is one of those things that is just ongoing, and oftentimes it may take years, but maybe educating the public, educating,
Yes.
you know, the powers that be, those people that have the money to be able to fund, on the importance of research, and not only the importance of it, but how, you know, how those little progresses are really a big, you know, a play, a huge part in the big picture. Because oftentimes, I'm going to be honest with you, Dr. Ruby, where you're in a lab, and nobody really knows what you're doing, and then all of a sudden you come up with a solution, and honestly, people think that it's instantaneously, like, oh my goodness, she just went in, she came out, she got it. Nobody realizes the years that it took to come up with that. So, you know, again, and I know pretty much like me, I know what I know, and marketing has not really been my strength, but the reality is that I'm learning more and more that education is one of those things that people need to be educated on the process.
I agree. I agree completely. I agree, and we have to also try to translate our research into a way that the public can understand. So being more accountable to the public, having the public more aware of what we're doing, and writing a lot of the things that we're doing in a way, in a language that the public can understand. So that's one of the things that one of the challenges I see that we have, that a lot, like you, I totally agree. A lot of times it's hard, and then when it has happened, when the discoveries come, there's a hard time then for people to approve, let's say, some vaccinations, because people are not aware of, okay, this is good, this is a good thing. So it's hard then to convince the public to basically support this. And there has been a number of situations where it has taken a discovery to make its way to the public many years, because the public are afraid or don't understand, and there has not been that communication. So definitely that is going to be one of the things that, if we want research to be funded and people to basically support what we're doing, because it's part of, we're using public funding.
Right.
So we have to, I think, like you said, be more accountable to what we're doing, and also be just have the public be aware of the importance of and the value of what we're doing.
Right, right, exactly. Okay. So what would you say? What would you say is your greatest inspiration in this career, and in a career of, and I know we talked a little bit about this, but what would you say is your greatest inspiration? What are the things that you do every day that keep you going? Because pretty much like we said, this is not like overnight. So you're going to a lab and you're going every day. There must be days when you're like, I'm never gonna actually get this result. So what keeps you going? What is the passion that keeps you going and keeps you coming back to get that, what we call instantaneous result? That's all. Yeah.
So like with anything, sometimes you can get a little bit discouraged, right? Because science and so many other fields are very challenging in terms of seeing the results immediately. Sometimes people never see the ultimate goal. They see just progressive, just some progressive, just their goals progressing and seeing some results, but it's very slow towards their ultimate goal. So you have to, I feel, continue to get connected to what inspired you to go into the field. For me, an instance was science in the first place. So basically, revisit that and refresh your memory. Why did you get into this field in the first place? So that you are not feeling that your passion is dry, or that, so to have, because it's important to have passion to do the work that, that we do. So just continue to get inspired and do that in different ways that will keep you going. And one of the things for me has been, because to be honest, at some point, so many years just feeling a bit isolated, because you're in this environment where you're just not really seeing a lot of results. You feel that it's just not going past the publication. It's just not going past this. But you are making improvements because other people have access to that, and we continue to just work on things that maybe I have done. Other people take it further, and I take other things that people have done and take it further. So there is always, you're moving forward, but you don't see it maybe at the pace that you would want it to be. So for me, one of the things that I have done is just get more involved in public health and seeing that the work that I'm doing is making a difference, and connecting with people, knowing what their challenges are in health, particularly in cancer, and trying to that way continue to be inspired and know that the work that I'm doing is not in vain. So anything that will keep that flame, burning, and that passion is important that we go back to and remind ourselves, this is what why I'm doing this, so that you continue to be inspired and just have that drive, because you do need it for those difficult times.
And especially in this day and age where things are that instant gratification, like you go, I get frustrated when when I get online and I can't get things fast enough. I'm like, oh, this is it. It was so much faster than it ever was, and yet, so we're becoming very accustomed to instant gratification. So with that said, having something like science and research that takes so much time to come up with a development, again, that takes a certain personality and a certain it takes a lot of patience.
Yes. You have to be really patient. Yes.
Yeah, and there must be days where you feel like this is never going to happen. I'm never going to get, and and I know this, again from movies and things that we watch, but I mean, you live this as a reality, but where they're almost there and then it flops. It's like one little thing, to find that little needle in the haystack takes forever, and then they come. So it takes a certain personality. So here's I have so many questions. My other question is, as a woman of faith, in science, and in science, there's this dichotomy with, is it, are scientists people of faith? Are they not people of faith? How has that played a role in your your faith and science? How does that? How have you been able to merge that, or have you?
That's one of the things that I reconcile very quickly, since I grew up in an environment of faith. So, and to me, it was really surprising that people could not see it that way. And people would look at me like, you are crazy, when I would tell them that, I am studying God. I am studying the creation. Every time I have the ability to see cells multiplying, or I'm able to understand how the Krebs cycle works, or all of these things, I am just fascinated by, how things are. And I know that it was not just something that happened out of nothing. So to me, that I'm always very surprised when people look at me like I'm crazy or something. Obviously, I may not have the same beliefs and understandings of certain things as other people, obviously, because I'm a scientist, and I have my own struggles in terms of how people see things or interpret things, and I don't see them that way. But in terms of my faith, I feel that I grow deeper in my faith as I understand more about science.
Right. And the complexities of the body, and how it all works, because it's really complex,
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
So you kind of dismiss that myth that scientists are really not people of faith. Have you found that to be true with a lot of other scientists, or the contrary?
It is true. It is true that, and I did struggle with my faith early on, to be honest, because of this thing that a lot of times, even people that have faith want to make you make a decision in terms of like, it's either or. And I feel that it's not, it's both.
Yeah.
And I feel that a lot of scientists feel that pressure that you have to choose one or the other. And many choose not to, because there is not an understanding, I feel, within people of faith, of how important science is, and how science really explains God to me. And it's just one of those things that it's unfortunately, I feel, and it shouldn't be that way, because before, centuries ago, science and religion were basically together, so I don't know why. Well, I can understand some of the things that have come up, but I don't see them separate at all.
Okay. So on a different note, who was your biggest inspiration in pursuing a career in science?
Well, I think definitely my parents. They saw that curiosity in me, and that desire to understand things. And my mom is very much like me, and she always, I would say that if she would have had the opportunity to go to college, she would have been a botanist because she understands about plants and, you know, anything that if you feel a certain way, she has a plant, you know, she has a tea for you. So she definitely was fascinated by science, and she encouraged me. And I feel that one of the other, sometimes, Nilda, we do have these disruptors in life, and sometimes we feel they're difficult, and they are, you know, you feel like, oh, they're negative or positive. But I had a big disruptor in my life, and I lost my brother to cancer. So I was already pursuing a science degree, and that was definitely something that helped me then focus basically my career in terms of going more towards cancer research. So those were the things that have really led me in this area of work.
That's right. Okay. Yeah, because I can't imagine that you were really surrounded by a lot of scientists in Puerto Rico, and you came from an area in Puerto Rico where there probably weren't a lot of Latinos or a lot of Puerto Ricans that were involved in science. So that's why I thought that was a very interesting question, because I pretty much came from the same thing. I mean, the fact that I even pursued a career, or that I went, you know, I wasn't surrounded by that. You know, my parents were great. They had, you know, my dad had his own business, and we had that. But, you know, in terms of school, it wasn't anything that was really known in my environment. And so the fact that I pursued that was, for me, was, you know, I thought it was fascinating. They thought I was crazy. So I think they finally come to terms that I may not be that crazy. But, you know, in the beginning, it was very shocking for them, you know. So, you have, this I have to touch upon, you have all of these degrees. You have your master's in public health. You have a lot of science background, a lot of, and chemistry, science. And now you're pursuing an MBA, which is business. How do you see the merge of the two? Because you know, honestly, I think to the natural eye and the natural mind, it would be like, okay, so what are you doing? How does that go together? So, but I know you thought this out. So tell me, how do you?
Yes. Also, I don't have a master's in public health. I do have experience in public health.
Okay.
Yes, but most of my degrees are in science, chemistry, biochemistry, cancer cell biology. So this is a little bit out there, right? Anybody would say that. But, you know, it was another disruptor in my life, and I feel that it was a very good one. I am very, very happy that I did pursue an MBA. It has changed my life, the way that I see things and the way that I do things, and it's been a life-changing experience. And I can see a lot of how do you say, like, I see many things that I can tell you that it's been a great investment, because in terms of an MBA prepares you to understand how to make better decisions in ways that are not just, okay, I think I should decide on pursuing this project, for instance, in science, or the other. So it gives you tools. There's decision tools like that I am fascinated by, and I would definitely implement in my work, from decision trees to linear programming to so many other decision-making tools that are so powerful and can be so helpful in terms of in science and in many fields. And it's not surprising why so many industries are using it, and it's so powerful. And if that's one of the things that I see extremely valuable. The other aspect is, since funding is always an issue in academia and other sectors,
Right. Right.
I mean, you learn how to budget, you learn how to work with finance, you learn so many things. And I feel that's extremely important. Also managing people, managing projects, managing resources. So it's extremely important. I feel that I highly recommend it to anybody, or at least to take a few classes so that you can just get a little better in terms of, understanding these different ways that you can improve processes. So we can learn a lot from that. And I can just mention so many other things. So it just makes perfect sense for somebody that is coming from more an academic background to get a professional degree. And I see more and more people. I would recommend somebody that if they're going into science or something is more academic, just try something else that you can basically see an integration, because I feel that the future is about learning how to take advantage of other fields, and then
Disciplines.
yes, interdisciplinary. Basically, you have, in this global environment, you have to be interdisciplinary, and that's one of of the reasons I did it, and I am really, really happy that I did.
Okay, I understand that because my background is heavily psychology. So I'm a licensed clinical social worker. And
Wow.
I remember when I was pursuing this, I was asked, oh, so you want to change your career? And I'm like, no, I want to enhance my career. I mean, the more I know,
Exactly.
the more I can give. And if I understand human behavior, then pursuing a degree in business would make perfect sense. They are, they're not really separate. But I find that the more you bring to the table, the more you add to that pot, the more, hey, a chef, you would never say, well, why are you using, such and such? Because you're, as a matter of fact, you're fascinated, like, ooh, I wonder what that's going to look like, what that's going to taste like. And that's basically what you do also with merging degrees and doing interdisciplinary, bringing in other disciplines and being able to merge them, because you understand what you're doing from different perspectives.
Exactly. And you're able to communicate with people in their own language, which is very important when you're trying to negotiate, or, trying to get people to collaborate with you. So if you can do that, it gives you a competitive advantage. So why not?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm fascinated. I love it. I love it. So, so we're coming to the top of the hour, and I am telling you, I'm so fascinated, and I feel so blessed to have you on the program, because
Thank you. It's my pleasure.
you bring so much, and I am so proud to have you as, as a fellow, doctor, and as a fellow Latina, that you just bring so much to the table, and there's so much that, and my goodness, you know what, you just never know when you're going to come up with that cure, and I knew you went. So this is, again, this is fascinating. Science to me is like one of those things that is like a fog, and I would love to know a little bit more and be able to be less afraid of it, because when it comes to the math and the science, it was something that I always felt I wasn't smart enough, I wasn't good enough for it. And to see somebody who has really been so bold and pursue it, I just think it's excellent, and I'm very proud of you, and I'm proud to know you.
Thank you.
And I'm again fascinated to have you in the program. So here is a question, and again, we're at the top of the hour. So how, somebody wanted to know more about mentorship or know more about science, is there a way they could get a hold of you?
Sure. I don't know how we can do this, but they can connect with me through email or LinkedIn, and I'll be more than happy to provide any more information or guidance.
LinkedIn is an excellent resource. I love it. And not only that, because they'll learn even more about you. Because I don't know about you, but I put my whole resume, my whole CV is on LinkedIn, and it's been fascinating. It's been great. I've met so many people as a result of that, and very interesting, awesome people. So your LinkedIn profile would be what? How does that look like? What is?
You can just search for Ruby Ruth Gonzalez, and you should be able to see my picture and see my profile. So, and you can connect with me. So I would be more than happy to have more connections and learn more about other people and
what they're doing, and what they're
pursuing.
Right.
Definitely.
And, my biggest encouragement, as a matter of fact, I was talking to a millennial the other day, and one of the things that I want to do is I want to be able to have these conversations with kids. Like, where do you see yourself? There's so many kids that are graduating college and can't get a job and are working in McDonald's and are working. And so I would love to pick their brain. And I think this is excellent for them to know, here's another avenue that you can, and mentorship, having those mentors.
It's very, very important. Yes.
It really is. It really is. I was very blessed to have awesome people in my life throughout. Dr. Langrod was one of those people. He was awesome, and he took me under his wing, and he was excellent. I was always very, very blessed to have, Carl Damas. Oh my goodness, I could just go on and on. I always was very blessed. Loretta Klein. People that I had in my life, but by the same token, I really did not find a lot of Latinas or Latinos that were in the fields that I was in to be able to, and I think that's changing, and I think it's changing rapidly.
It is.
And that's awesome. And I'm one of those people, and mentoring is what I love to do, because I know that I didn't have that, or I'm not going to say I didn't have it, but I didn't have it. It wasn't that readily available, but when I did find it, it was excellent. So being able to get a hold of you on LinkedIn, I think, again, can you give us that information one more time for those that missed it?
It would be Ruby Ruth Gonzalez.
Ruby Ruth Gonzalez, okay, and that's on LinkedIn.
Yes.
Well, I want to thank you for being here. I want to thank you for a fascinating show and a fascinating point of view. I love it. And I definitely would love for you to come back, because I'm sure we can find more topics.
Sure. Thank you so much, Dr. Paris. I'm very grateful for the invitation and for the work that you're doing. I think it's great. We just need to continue to encourage other people and our people, and you're doing that, and I'm very grateful for your work.
Yeah, well, thank you. And just keep chipping a little bit at a time, right? And I think we both do. Everybody, I think, does that in their own discipline. Everyone does their little bit, but that's how we surround the world. So we're all responsible for our little sphere, our little world. And when that ends, somebody else picks it up from that end to that little sphere. And here we are, and we keep working towards it. All right, so thank you. And
thank you.
I look forward to talking to you again soon. And
I want to thank you for being with us on Business Foresight, always creating strategies towards an extraordinary future. Remember, I'm here with you with strategies every Saturday. I'll see you next week.